Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Black Heart is signing black in again. Asking you to hit that share button. I appreciate you hitting the like or the subscribe button, but the share button is necessary. That's where it's at. So let me go ahead and get right to it, y'all. Here's the deal. Here's the drill. This time, 30 years ago, I was about maybe halfway through the autobiography of Malcolm X. I was in middle school. I was exactly halfway through middle school, as a matter of fact. A lot of things I remember. It was exactly a generation ago. I recall that I was around this time beginning to get to where he was making the transformation. He was becoming a proto Muslim, if you will. But I picked up on his militancy. He hated the white man, hated the white man for all that he had done. And I also began to read other speeches, a book of speeches that he had made when I wasn't reading his autobiography. It got to the point where I was more engrossed in that than I was in the schoolwork. It shaped my thinking forever. Just knowing that there was such a thing as black militancy shaped me to where I could never go back to Martin Luther King Jr.'s variety again of resistance. No more nonviolence. No, you pull the trigger and blow that mucker's head off, and you do it just because he thinks that it's okay for him to do it to you. You kill your oppressors. That's what I began to understand. So I began to look at even my own personal enemies as personal enemies, but I wouldn't give them opportunities. But the ones who thought that it was okay to be jerks, I looked at them as deserving of death. I couldn't get away with doing it. I never killed anyone. But I looked at them as such because militancy shapes your life now. Malcolm never killed anyone, and he didn't have to commit violence because people knew not to bring that mess to him. The one time people tried that violence on him, around him, was when they cowardly attacked his house trying to set it ablaze, and they burned it, and then a little while later, they actually shot him. You weren't going to hit this man on the head. Now, he could be a peacemaker. I mean, he even said, okay, cool it, brothers, cool it, before they shot him. But he was not the man you just going to walk up to and beat and slap on, and he's just nonviolent. Trying to use some kind of soul power to get into your conscience if you a goddamn psychopath and you have none. I've taken this militancy into everything. And like Malcolm was the son of a Baptist preacher who became a Muslim, I am the son of, I'm the great grandson, I'm the great grandson and great great grandson of some Methodist Episcopalian preachers. They were of the CME church. I'm their descendants. And now I preach red pill and I preach Islam. And I only preach red pill because it is a necessity. I preach Islam because it is a necessity and it is a solution. But in all cases, what I've learned is that militancy must be preached when you're dealing with black people because we've been taught not to protect ourselves and preserve ourselves. The problem is that you've got some of these feminists now that are going to use exactly that to tell you you don't have a self-preservation instinct, and that's why you all here running around when you get some money with these lighter-skinned women, be they partially black or not black. That's what you're going to be told because it's already coming down the pipe. You must respond with militancy. You can say to them, look, first of all, we tend to marry black women even when we make 100,000 or more. What is changing is that you've got black men now that are under 20 that will not touch you. That's where the change is happening. It's not at an income level. It's at an age bracket. That's what you got to make them understand. But respond with militancy. and say to them, we will not bring a bag to you, and we're not going to tell these young guys about how gorgeous you are, because they can see you. We're not going to try to change that for these young cats until you change who you are and what advice you give to the girls that are their age. Not before. You must drive a hard bargain. And frankly, I would go so far as to say to them, we're going to encourage these guys to look at black women that are not you. That's what. I can't believe, no, it's too bad. We're going to encourage these guys to consider black women that come from third world nations and villages, because we're going to encourage them to consider black women who listen, and who listen when they're attractive and young and aren't bringing other men's kids or debt or baggage or emotional inability to pair bond to the table. That's what we're going to tell them to consider. We're not telling them to look at everybody that's not black because they're not black. See, remember, gentlemen, remember, any man, even if they claim to be Ibm or Cisbim, any man that disses the black woman because she's black is not understanding. He's not a part of the solution. He is brainwashed. The nigga's a colorist. He's got self-hate issues. If a man is clear on one thing, it is because of the attitude of the Western black women, and sometimes non-Western black women, depending on where they are, but it's the attitude that drives the men away. This man has a clear picture of it. When the women come along with their stuff, that's when you respond with militancy. You know what, bitch? You're only mad about the bag. You know what, bitch? You're outnumbered. You outnumber what you want. You want us to have bags? Very few men in the world have bags. We want you to have titties. All of you have titties. So your vagina and your ass and your titties are not worth a fortune automatically. Your femininity with that does not make you worth a fortune automatically. And as a matter of fact, if I'm poor, you still bring these things to the table, or you're going to be by yourself. And that doesn't mean that I'm only allowed to marry you. Militancy, not to oppress them though, but to set them in a place in which you can lead them, especially if they're saying that you have to pay the cost. You're saying to them simply one thing: if I have to pay the cost, then I am the boss, and the cost does not have to be a fortune either, because you ain't going to pay the cost no matter how small it is to be the boss. That's what that's about. I listened to a comedian named Whitney Cummings tell jokes about it, but the truth was told in jest. She said that we're living in a hell of a time now when women have money, and she said that's only like 30 years old, women having money. And she said that now that she has money, it's opened up a new category of men for her, broke guys. Now she can date them because she has money. That's what she said. But one of the things she said was, when the man is paying for everything, I couldn't date broke guys because I was broke when I was younger. Now I can. But when the man was paying for everything, it was the expectation that I was going to have sex with him. When I'm paying for everything, the expectation is we're not going to have sex. You're going to sit on this bed and listen to me talk about my dreams. We're reading the horoscope tonight. Notice what she said. We're not having sex. As if that's something she doesn't naturally like anyway, even with the man that she's with. Now, if she's saying we're not fornicating tonight, I don't have a leg to stand on to argue with her, as long as what she's saying is based on some kind of moral conviction, a religious conviction, which would be the same for everybody to whom she's not married. But that's not what she's coming from. That's not it. She was simply saying that she wasn't saying that she has a moral compunction against it like what I have. She was simply saying, because I have the money and you don't, I'm not going to have sex with you because sex is something you like. Do you see what that is, even though she may not have been aware of it? So when they're coming to you and they're saying to you that if you want to be the boss, you got to pay the cost, but then they still are going to be the boss, that's militant. I want you to realize that what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're coming out with now is militant, and it is militant always against your interest, always. Because you may not, most of you listening to me aren't bad, oppressive, and abusive men. You don't want to oppress the women and beat them and take everything from them. You're not like most of you listening aren't out to use women. You're upset because you've seen women that were otherwise good choose men that were out to abuse and use them and oppress them. That's what bothers you about this. And it should. But what you're seeing is these women come out and militantly say, because you have been able to pull the game, or you've been able to explain the game and explain these things, that these dumb things they do, they're coming out and militantly saying to you, yeah, so what? Why don't you just be more alpha? Or why don't you just make more money, like what Steve Harvey stupid behind said to Donovan? Not Donovan Sharp, but the other light-skinned Donovan that was a guest on his show. Why don't you just make more money? My son could see how stupid that was, and he's 18 years old. Nigga, Steve Harvey's older than my black ass. And I got gray hairs. These women and their matriarchal mandingos are militant, and they're wrong. So you must be militant because you're right. You may not be right about it. You ain't going to be right about everything in life. You may not be right about everything you think you know about women, but that's largely because of what they don't tell us anyway. But your stance about not oppressing them, not abusing them, but not taking no fit off of them either is also right. So you got to be militant about it. Because the wrong are always militant in their error. It's time for the righteous to be militant in their righteousness. I'm not going to beat you. I'm not going to oppress you. I'm not going to take things from you. I'm not going to be a bum, but here's what you ain't going to do. You ain't going to tell me to pay the cost and then you turn around and try to be the boss. You ain't going to combine hypergamy with feminism. I got to have more, do more, and be more than you. Guess what? You don't talk to me about women's equality if that's what it takes to be with you. End of story. You don't get in my face with that stuff. I'm an independent person with my own mind. Yeah, I never said you weren't, but you ain't gonna sit up here and tell me this shit. But then I got to have a master's degree because you got a bachelor's. I got to have a PhD because you got a master's. I got to make this much up here because you make this middle amount over here. I got to be taller than you, but you gonna wear high heels? Bitch, are you serious? You gonna compete with me for my job, but I got to make more money than you. Man, get the guck out of my face. You got to be militant about that, and you got to make them know you. Matter of fact, don't even say you will cooperate or I'm out. You say to her, I'm out because you don't cooperate and you haven't cooperated. Time's up. If she's from the West, that's what you tell her. You go to the East, and if you see them start to imitate the West, because inevitably many of them do, you say to them, you can learn certain things from them, but you start acting like that woman and you're going to lose me. Make them understand it right off the bat, militantly. Because feminism always goes with militancy. You'll notice it is not diplomatic. Not anymore. The first feminist that opened up a shelter for abused women also opened up some for abused husbands. You know that every time she opened one up for abused husbands or abused men, it got burned down. Yeah. They were militant against justice. Now, there's only one shelter in the entire United States for abused men. Only one. So, you're right and the detractors are wrong, and you just got to step your militancy up. Now, it doesn't mean that you start saying I'm going to oppress you, but what it does mean is that you just got to be more militant about your righteousness. I'm not here to do you wrong, but I will take no crap off of you. I mean none, especially any crap you would not take off me. If you can't tolerate an honest mistake from me, I don't have to tolerate it from you. If you can tolerate an honest mistake from me, but you're not going to tolerate a careless or mindless error when I forget, I will not tolerate that from you. You will not tolerate malicious errors from me, so I certainly will not tolerate malicious errors from you or disrespect. I'm not even going to tolerate a lack of logic on your part and stupidity. So that means if she has a height requirement for you, she can't wear high heels. Straight up. No woman with a height requirement has any business wearing high heels, especially next to a man. None. Why would you do that? Unless, of course, your goal is to eliminate men. Now, if that is your goal, well, hell, just be by yourself. You've eliminated everybody, then, if that's really what the case is. He's got to love animals, but your dog pisses and shits on your floor? Were you kidding me? When it comes to these mutually exclusive things, that's when you say to them, no, 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 no. No two things that are mutually exclusive you're going to start demanding. I got to have the stamina of a young guy, but the money of an old man. They don't even go together in most cases. That's rare. So make up your damn mind. That's what you got to understand. That's what you got to see. So, yeah, keep it militant at all times with no apologies. Be fair, be just, but be militant. And that may mean that you may have to say some things you don't mean at times. So when they friend zone you and they want to, well, you know what? I'm hungry. Can you take me out to eat? This is a friend. You'd be like, well, I mean, what's in it for me? Why would I just spend money to feed you? Because we friends. But why would I just spend money to feed you? You didn't answer that question. That's exactly why. Okay, because we friends? Great. Okay, you want me to feed you? Tell you what. First off, you can start off by mentioning things that don't involve her bending over your couch, especially if you don't believe in fornication like I don't. But you got to come with something that they do. Well, I mean, why would I feed you? Tell you what, my kitchen's dirty. Could you clean it for me? I'll get you some food. Could you clean it for me? Are you serious? Yeah, because I need my kitchen cleaned. You're hungry? I need my kitchen clean. Because understand this, if you hate the friend zone, you can't stand it, guess what? There's probably not much of a way out of that friend zone, but the best way is actually that you're not going to be a simp that always does things for free. Now, if there is going to be a way out of someone's friend zone, that's it. You might think it's moving in for the kiss and that sort of thing. No, actually it's maintaining the respect that you just don't do stuff for free like that, especially when you know she's going to screw somebody else for free. Okay, well, you don't have to feed her for free. Okay, I will buy you the dinner. Will you clean my car out? Will you clean my kitchen? I'll buy you the dinner. Will you help me clean up my tub or help me mop this floor or something? You understand what I'm getting at? You got to be militant about not being taken advantage of, because the goal is to take advantage of you. Most of you are normal men and you've already been marked for that. And when you don't accept it, they get militant about it. You got to be militant about not being taken advantage of. It gets worse than this, but I've had 30 years of militancy to get experienced and become an expert in it before I sat up here and recorded this to you. And I mean 30 years as of this month. You can thank Malcolm X for that. Malcolm is affecting lives from beyond the grave. And this has helped me in my dealings with white folks. And I hope that it helps you in your dealings with Western women, if you have to deal with them in the first place. I can tell you this. It will certainly help you in your dealings with non-Western women who have not yet been westernized and started imitating them. When they can sense that militancy, that you're going to treat them well as long as they do the same thing, but that if they act like that broad you left behind in the West, you're going to leave her too. They pick up on that militancy. They're not going to imitate the broads you left behind in the West unless you weren't their type anyway. You understand what I'm getting at? I hope that what I've said is a benefit. And I hope that one day it won't be true anymore. But until then, I certainly do hope it helps. Blackheart is signing black out again. Assalamu alaikum and black male power. Keep it militant from the bottom of my black heart.